Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to invite guests and topics that will be able to help you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. So today my guest is Karen Grosz, and let me tell you about Karen. She is known as Monday Videos Lady for her energetic welcome to the week. Karen is a 5-time author, both an award-winning and TEDx speaker, founder of Canvas Creek Team Building, and recipient of the Montana Governor's Award for Volunteerism. Her mission is to inspire others to be their best, to try the next thing, and to know they are worth every effort it takes to live their next. Described as a dynamo, I can say that, dynamo and catalyst for change. Karen decided early on that she wanted learning and adventure in her life. She grew up in Mount Rushmore, which gave her passion for high ideals, living in Alaska for 25 years before settling in Montana, honed Karen's frontier spirit, full of can-do, will do, let's do it together energy. A cornerstone for her community, Karen is a Rotarian and RYLA director, an active member of the Chamber of Commerce and of Rock 31, an organization committed to helping startups thrive. A Boys and Girls Club board member, founder of I'll Help, and founding member of 100 Strong, and we'll find out more about those in a few. So today we're going to talk about a subject that she and I chatted early before the interview started on that I am really happy to bring to the front here, and that's unlocking creative team development and dynamics through art. Yes, through art. So please join me in welcoming my guest, Karen Grosz, who I'm so excited to chat with today. Karen, welcome.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Vicki. I'm glad to be here.
So the first two questions are always simple ones, Karen, and they are simply, tell us, where do you live? I know we gave that a little bit away, but where do you live in Montana? It's a big state. And where do you call home now? And the second is to just give us a little bit of your story.
Great. So I say that I live in a suitcase, but I repack it in Billings, Montana. And that is my home. My home of heart is mixed between Custer, South Dakota, and Anchorage, Alaska. But Billings has really become the place that our people are in Billings now.
Awesome. And so just, I gave all the accolades of who you are today, but talk to us a little bit about that journey that took you to where you are.
Yeah, when I listen to somebody read that, I think, oh man, I need a nap. But it's been quite a journey to get here, and that's not described in that at all. When I graduated school, I was so shy, I couldn't talk to 3 people at one time. And the idea that I might be a leader or a champion of causes and somebody that others looked up to was so far beyond me. I just did not have the confidence for that.
Mm.
And so I started doing the next hardest thing, whatever I could think of that I would learn from, asking people to mentor me, with the intention of someday living the life I dreamed and being able to set my own schedule and having freedom. And it was a lot of work, but holy cow, it was fun. And sometimes my confidence is a little off the charts, but it's been quite a journey, especially learning to be a public speaker. I went from, again, not talking to three people at once to now I love to talk to a group of 10,000 people. I just love inspiring people. Pardon me, inspiring people.
So, where in your time in Alaska did that young woman think, why don't people get how important art is in our lives? And why is it so impactful in helping to get those dynamic teams?
Yeah, that's such a great question. In Alaska, I really developed an appreciation of art. I didn't have that before that period. And there was a lot of art by the natives of Alaska. And what we saw with their totem poles and their beautiful blankets and all of the things that they made together, that was really kind of the start of just thinking about the power of people working together to create things. And when you expand that idea out, art that is public art, art that is parade that people have worked together to offer to other people, ice festivals. Oh my gosh, the ice festivals in Alaska where so many people would work together to create a sculpture. And then I would see them at the end of the process, hugging and smiling and laughing and so proud of what they created together. But that really is where I first started thinking about, what if we did this as a group of people that worked together, didn't necessarily play together?
Yeah, so true. And a lot of times people think of art as that individual item, that individual skill, and not as how can it be a group. But my husband was an artist, and he was also the art director for the plays that they had in high school. And
Mm.
so if you think about all the scenery that you have in those theatrical endeavors, and that takes teamwork, and it's not only you know just one person doing all that. And then another thing that he used to do is, and out there in the audience there's probably thinking, well, I don't have an artistic bone in my body. And so for years as an art teacher, he would have those kids and say, Mr. Noethling, I can't draw. And so he would take this beautiful picture and break it down to 1-inch squares and just have each person do their 1-inch square. And when the finished product was all put together, that beautiful picture was there. And how wonderful did those those students feel about the creativity that came out of the accomplishment of being able to create an artistic drawing by just contributing a small part.
Oh my gosh, I would love to have watched that happen for those students, how they realized that their individual contribution really contributed to the whole. The work we do in schools, which we started last year and we're so excited about, it helps students to understand that connection is prevention. And the more we get those kids connected to one another through art, through creating really amazing experiences, the better schools are. So I love that your husband was doing that. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah. And I think, if you take it even a step further, a lot of times when we talk about confidence, if that student is not the best artist, they can't draw a straight line in their minds. And so then, but they're asked to even, do a simple drawing, and then the students might laugh or make fun of them, and that hurts their confidence. Well, same thing in a team. If you're asked to do a big project and you don't delegate to people that might have other strengths, if that's an availability to you, then you could have that final product either fail or not be what you wanted, and then you're never going to raise your hand again to lead a project. As a project manager, that was the key, I think, to my success always, is that I delegated so much of everything so that nobody was overwhelmed. And again, that is, I believe, an art in itself, to be able to pull out in people their strengths. So talk to me about some of the challenges that you might have experienced as you're talking to people about unlocking that creative team dynamics by using art.
Yeah, the first one is just kind of what you talked about, that people are so convinced that they're not creative. And what I find is that older we get, unless we've been exercising that creative muscle, we feel like we can't do it. And so I love to walk into a room of upper level management and company leaders and have them, they'll walk in and they'll see all the canvases and they'll be like, I can't draw a smiley face. I can't draw a tree. And they don't want to do it. But our process, we have 4 people paint together on a canvas and they don't have instructions. So those 4 people all feel that they can't do it. But then they realize that if they don't start, it's not going to get done and they'll never get to walk out of the room. And so the team begins the process very hesitantly. And then they realize that it's quite often the person who was really quiet in the corner who had the solution or had the bright idea to make the painting come together. And I bet that's what you found in your projects, wasn't it? That if you could just find a way to listen to everybody's voice, it was the quiet person in the corner who had the best idea.
Yeah. And it's really, it all kinds of how you pull out that creativity. The whole thing of AI right now, there's some people that are, of course, and you talk about change all the time, and we could have a whole new podcast on that. But what I found is that things like ChatGPT unlock, as you were saying, the creativity to get the people thinking outside of the box. That's, oh gosh, I didn't think of that. When you ask the right prompts, to be able to do that. And to me, the other aspect that now that it can do is that you can say, well, show me what a slide would look like for that. And then it starts to give you images. And again, if you don't feel that you are artistic at all, the PowerPoints that you do are generally a lot of words and bullet points and not engaging. As a trainer, as a speaker, we know we need to find ways to engage. So being able to find the right images using these other tools, and that can inspire you to think, oh, well, maybe that's not perfect, but I think this might be good. And then you can go to the resources of images and find that particular image. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh, I think you're exactly right. I think AI is just like people, that everybody shows us what to do or what not to do. And if you just get in there and ask a couple questions, you'll be like, yeah, I don't agree with that, but this is what I'd like to say about it. And it gives you a whole new way of thinking. And I'm like you, I'm not scared of it. I think we need to figure out how to lean into it to make us more creative, not to replace our creativity, but to make us more creative.
And I think too, in art, when you first approach a canvas or a drawing board, you will put down things, and oftentimes there's a lot of paper or canvases on the floor, because your initial idea wasn't exactly maybe right. You just weren't there. And so you keep on adding colors or lines or shadows and darkness, and then things come out. And I think that's the same thing with your teams. You kind of need to say, okay, this is the team I have, but is it the team I need? What can I do to change? And how can I change how we communicate with each other? Again, all as if it's the art process.
My gosh, Vicki, that's so true. And what I find is that when you get the team working together, they become less scared of collaborating and less scared of offering an idea that might not be the right idea, but they'll throw it out and then the team can talk about it. But they have to practice collaboration as much as possible. The more you practice, the easier it becomes.
Yeah. And so another question I have is when we put on this mindset of using art as a basis or to be able to get a stronger team, what are the opportunities that we unlock?
Oh, that's such a great one. I think really that the opportunities are to think in new ways and to appreciate people in new ways, especially if you work together, like those 1 inch squares or the collaborative art that we do, that if you're open to it, you can change your mind about what your skills are and about what other people's skills are. You have to be willing to look at it in new ways. So we say that we use 4 senses. We have smell, we have sight, we have the feel of what's going on the canvas, and then the sounds. And when you lean into more senses, which is so easy with art, it helps you to have a more visceral response to change and to working together.
And I think another piece of it that ties to art is a truly great piece of art makes you feel something.
Every time.
And so when you think of teams and as a leader of a team, you need to make your team feel something, to understand what the mission is, the vision is, to be inspired. And then the same thing goes out as you're doing that, to have your team then be able to do the same for their clients and those that they approach. So I'd love to know what your experiences are in that sense, the feeling to be able to really connect using empathy and emotional intelligence as a team lead.
So, Vicki, I'm going to tell you a story here about my confidence journey when I was trying to keep doing the next really growth activity and learn from the world. I sold cars in Alaska, of all things. And for 2.5 weeks, couldn't sell a car. It just was not going to be my thing. Sales was not my thing. And I put a couple in uh, Zuzu Trooper, and it had a sunroof, and I wanted to show how fancy the sunroof was. So I opened it up and dumped 2 gallons of water right in the middle of their laps. Oh my gosh. I was so embarrassed. I sat in the back seat crying. They bought the car. And I know it was a pity purchase. And my boss at the time, who was such a great person and really has been a great mentor to me, said, "It's okay, Karen. If they cry, they buy. And if you cry, apparently they buy too." And that was when I first understood the power of good storytelling and the power of a good visceral reaction. That if you can get your people connected to the story, connected to whatever it is you're trying to do so powerfully that they laugh or they cry and they have that big response, that's when you can move mountains. That's when change happens. But it does take looking at things in a new way. And art, again, helps you to do that because sometimes it shocks you.
Yeah.
And it gives you that response that you cry and then you buy.
So true. Oh my goodness. So what are some skills that, as the team members, and I think too, the leaders of the organization, because that's the first people you've got to convince on this, what are some skills that can be obtained whenever they start to understand the power of bringing art into their team collaborations?
Mm, it's great. So what I find, especially after our process, is that people move quicker through projects. There's less debate and less, how a team kind of storms when they're starting a project. There's less of that because they've gone through it. And so the more you bring art into the process, the faster things can move, the more creative people are, and the more willing to change. So I'm working with 2 organizations right now that have big changes coming on, and their teams are really scared of it. And sometimes teams treat big ideas as viruses, and they're like, "Oh, we have to be the antigens and we have to take out those viruses." When you insert art into the process and you say, like you pointed out earlier, that you put a circle on it and then you change it into a line, when teams get used to changing things, they get used to adapting new ideas and figuring out how to work into them much more quickly. I think the more art you do, the faster your team can move.
Right. So true. So in the bio, we talked about your being involved with Boys and Girls Clubs, which in my very, very early days of being a supervisor, one of the person who was my mentor was on the board. And so I was a junior board member here in Atlanta and did their strategic plan. But how do you use what you teach to help those young people start to see the opportunities of being able to use art, as we mentioned earlier, in every aspect of their lives to be a more successful person?
Yeah, great question. I do so love the Boys and Girls Club mission, and there's a lot of things that I love to do with those students, like do our process and help them feel like teams. But one of the things that's a little unusual that I like to encourage those students and others to do, there are two things. One is for young kids, instead of having a lemonade stand, which so many kids do in the summer, right?
Yeah.
Like, have an art stand. Whatever it is you like to draw, sit out on the corner, sell that art. People will throw $20 bills at them. And it's so exciting for kids. And I think it really builds their confidence that I created this and people want it. And for those kids and Boys and Girls Club, that's what I want, is for their confidence to grow. And then for teen leaders, we help them to look at what's going well and what's not going well in their community. And we use art for that conversation. And then we talk about what kind of a leader solution can you put together that could actually make things better. And we start very, very small. But I love to do that with Boys and Girls Club kids, help them think, how can I be part of the solution instead of feeling like the world is just after them or the world is a hard place all of the time? What can you do to contribute?
For sure. So you have two organizations that you founded. I'll help. So tell me a little bit about that one first.
So honestly, I like to say I grew up poor, but until my son-in-law started working at Boys and Girls Club, I didn't know how poor kids could be. And I have a friend who said, "Hey, I want to use your voice to help champion the foster children in our town." And I thought, how important can that be? There can't be that many. Well, we have in Billings, Montana, we have as many foster kids as Cincinnati, Ohio, and we're 100,000 and there are a couple million people. So we put together something called I'll Help. And I'll Help is people like you and I who might not foster a child. These families go on this page, this Facebook page, and they say, I need diapers, I need a crib. And you and I say, I'll help with that. And so it is the most basic community member emergent need. I'm going to help you with this right now because I can and because you have a need. So now we have over, I think it's almost 9,000 members, and we serve all kinds of needs, not just foster kids. And it's gone so well that I was able to step out of it and let the community run that. And that, to me, that's what a leader does. A leader not only develops confidence in themselves, but confidence in their people and lets them take the projects.
Awesome. And then the next is 100 Strong.
Oh my gosh, that is a really cool thing. Again, that is the power of bringing people together, and if they cry, they buy. So a friend of mine named Julie Teschetter said, I want to start this club where 100 women bring a $100 bill into the room, and we listen to 3 nonprofits, and those nonprofits then will vote on which one gets that $10,000. And so she's asked a few of us to help her start this and be on the visioning team. And oh my gosh, we have given away more money through that organization that is just direct. You come in tonight and you get a check tonight for that $10,000. And it's really a
Awesome.
very cool program. Yeah.
That
And so,
is awesome.
yeah, lots of people get, like, I might not vote for your program. You might not get the 10,000 tonight, but I like what you're doing. And so I'm going to write you a check on the side. It's a really cool program.
That is awesome. All right. And so the two books you have, share a little bit about the Quiet Leadership and what's next.
Oh my gosh. So what's next is my way of helping people to, like I did, grow in confidence and live from one next to the other. It's about goal setting, it's about team dynamics, it's about public speaking and starting a business. There's all kinds of things your next can be. So that was really just my gift to the world to say, go live your next. Go, don't be scared, and don't let other people in your world hold you down. So what's next? We're actually going to Portugal for a retreat in October this year to have lots of people get excited about living their next.
Awesome.
And then during the next book is Quiet Leadership. And Quiet Leadership is about growing your confidence through leaning into all of the lessons you already know. You don't have to have a list of John Maxwell rules for leadership. You can lean into what you learned from your dad and your neighbor and sitting under a tree and take those lessons and pull those into how you can lead really well. So I teach stories about how scary it is to walk in the woods with a bear, but what the bear really is, which is there's a great ending to that story. And my dad, who was an uneducated logger, who taught me to ask 3 questions before I made a statement, because people don't listen unless they ask to be told. So those are the kind of lessons that are in quiet leadership, the lessons where you just lean forward and listen to somebody who wasn't necessarily a leader, but helps you to be a more confident leader.
So interesting. I didn't go to college until I was 46 and graduated at 50. And so I had at 50, you know, I had that milestone that I wanted to do by 50, and I still had in my course load several, you know, credits that I had to get. And so somebody says, well, why don't you matriculate? And I went, I don't even know how to spell that. I don't, but I just started to go through my 49 years of knowledge and courses. And I'm always big in personal development since I was young, because I didn't think I was going to ever go to college. So I just did stuff on my own. And I was able to graduate in like 2 months after that, because I had plenty of credits to fill. And
Oh my
so
gosh, Vicki,
life
that's
lessons
beautiful.
just are there, and we just don't even know that we're gathering all this wisdom and knowledge.
Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful story. And congratulations on graduating at 50. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I promised my dad when I told him a sophomore year, my sister was going to go to college, and I saw how they were struggling. I too did not come from a lot of money, and I knew that my parents could not afford to send me to college, and so I just changed to a business track, and my dad
Mm.
was not happy. And I promised him that I would sometime get a college degree, and so
Oh,
that was for my dad.
beautiful. Oh my gosh, that is beautiful.
Well, time has flown by. It is now time for me to share my screen. And so this is the contact information. If you have been moved and want to know more about how you could unlock a creative team dynamic using art, then you want to get this information. If you're just listening, you know the drill. You should grab a paper and pencil right away so you can write this down. But of course, everything is on my YouTube channel, so please subscribe, as well as you can go to the findyourleadershipconfidence.com. The websites, and there are two. So the first is canvascreekteams.com. Again, that's canvascreekteams.com. And her personal website is Karen Grosz, GROSZ.life, karengrosz.life. And Facebook is karen.grosz.1. Instagram is Karen Grosz, all one word. YouTube is Canvas Creek Teams. I'm going to turn it over to Karen to talk to you about things that you might find on either of those websites, as well as where she spends the most time on social media. It's all yours.
Thank you, Vicki. I'll start with where I spend the most time. I spend the most time on Facebook. I have a group there called What's Next, as well as just my personal page is really where everything happens. And so that's a great place to start to get to know me. The other place I spend a lot of time is LinkedIn. And then canvascreekteams.com actually has the most good stuff. There is a download on being a quiet leader there. There is classes for what's next are available on that website, as well as a space where you can find out about all of our new books, which the latest book we have coming out is Quiet Leadership, or pardon me, it's Begin, Become, Believe, a quiet leadership journey for teenagers. So I also would just like to offer that anybody who listens to this podcast and sends me an email through the website, canvascreekteams.com, I will send you a copy of Quiet Leadership. So be sure to reach out and tell me that you heard me talking to Vicki, because I think she's a fabulous podcaster.
Thank you so much for that. And I will make sure that this slide shows LinkedIn's, and definitely check her out. If you want to get in touch with her right away, go to that Facebook, join her group, find out more about that retreat in Portugal. Sounds so awesome. Wow, Karen, you shared so many great stories, great information. Definitely need to have you back to continue our conversation about things that we didn't even get to talk about, but definitely a wonderful resource. I love what you're doing with 100 Strong. I think people need to steal that idea, and I Help is awesome. There's where the creative juices come in. You see a problem and you don't just stop saying, I don't know what to do. You try. Awesome job. All right. So as always, I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.